right number of fingers? Number
We have been at it
9.
for a little while, and we haven't run out of anything to say yet, so that's a good thing.
That is shocking, isn't it? Shocking.
Yeah,
Absolutely shocking.
Yeah, shocking. Neither one of us have more to say. That's really shocking. All right.
I'm sorry. I'm going to do the technical thing because I know some people who listened to episodes 7 and 8 saw Mitch screw up with this echo problem. And so I just really want to make sure that it's not echoing.
It's all good.
All right. So
double check.
We're good. We're all good.
Yay.
Thank you.
No echo. That means you only get a chance to hear me once instead of multiple times.
Like you better say it right the first time. That's right.
That's right.
So what are we going to talk about today, Bradley?
I don't know. We do it better because we do it twice. Let's see. What is this episode? This episode is
driving traffic.
What did we say it was? It was
traffic.
Something about traffic.
Yes.
Driving traffic. Driving traffic. And maybe what are the sort of secrets to the stuff that we do that the greedy ad platforms don't want us to tell you?
That's a good question, right?
Yeah, I mean,
good question.
There's a whole bunch of interesting things. I pay for traffic for clients. I'm in the process actually of getting set up with a nonprofit to drive $10,000 a month in ad traffic to their nonprofit. So it's $120,000 a year in ads. And there's lots of ways that we're going to be leveraging it and what have you, but that these ad platforms, they can be very expensive, and if you don't get your ads right, then you could be out a whole lot of money.
Yes.
And so I'm just curious from your perspective, how much sort of media buying have you done or been involved with? And even if you're not the one that's purchasing the ads, what's been your experience with online advertising and actually paying per click?
Well, this is a very short show if you're going to ask me about my history with buying ads. Because I have done none of that, which is fascinating, right?
Right. Well, and the question, I guess part of that is, have you been working on campaigns where you're doing UpViral, you're doing other sort of word of mouth advertising that's being maximized by someone else buying ads to those campaigns? Okay, so all of yours is no pay campaigns. That's great.
Which is fascinating, isn't it? Right?
It absolutely is.
Which is a great sales feature for the fact that technically in my UpViral account I have over 250,000 leads.
Right.
Right? Ring the bell for me.
Yeah.
But we didn't do any advertising. Now, realistically, those campaigns were almost all contests, right?
Okay.
Giving away something in order to get the email address, or the potential of winning something to get the email address. And thankfully, we didn't pay for any ads. We did. Maybe I should caveat that just a hair. Yeah. Because I have used services that are contest lead sites, contest promo sites, where they list a ton of different stuff. So I guess technically I have paid for those. There is one called Contest Girl that I think we paid $50, and Sweepstakes Advantage is the other one that I use a lot. And you can run an ad for $10 a month there, which is and it does bring in quite a few leads, and we could have a long conversation about. But those are the quality of the leads. Yes. We probably should have that conversation because it's something I'm passionate about, because a lot of people say that they're going to be trash leads, and I argue against that. But So I have not used any of the major ad networks, Facebook ads, those kind, Google ads, whatever. I have not done
Yeah. Okay.
specifically. So
Fair enough. So just to sort of frame a little bit of this, um, about half of the viral or word of mouth campaigns that I've done have had some sort of paid ad component to it, and then outside of the word of mouth advertising, I am currently, like I said, I'm currently working with a nonprofit to do $10,000 worth of ad spend every month, and then I'm working with another software as a service company that is running ads in order to generate leads, because we haven't quite figured out how to do a word of mouth advertising campaign that would generate the right kinds of leads for us. But I'm very interested in hearing sort of what your own experience is, and challenges of not having, or how do you, well, maybe I'll ask you a different way. How do you start a campaign and the traffic going to a campaign if you have a 0-person list? If you're starting from scratch, how do you start?
first of all, before we go there, I want to say
Yeah.
hi to Siddharth, who is watching.
Hey,
And
how are you?
Siddharth, you also have to say hi to Bradley, not just me.
It's all
He
good.
he and I have chatted many times. He's a really good guy. He was interviewed by the Viral Copilot team many
Yep.
many moons ago. So he's a good,
Cool.
highly qualified word of mouth kind of guy. So
Cool.
hi.
Yep. Anybody else want to pop things into the chat box? We're welcome to take whatever questions you have, comments, even to tell us to pull a hook out and get off the stage. That's okay too. Uh, we have plenty to say
Nah,
generally. So,
nah. So
all right.
to answer your question,
Yeah.
uh, um, I had a bit of a head start because the website that I was running at the time was a photo video website. Primarily, the people that were coming to me were advertisers on that website. And so I had a list.
Okay.
Okay, to answer your question, totally
Yeah. Yeah.
honestly, I did have a list. I also had
Yep.
a website that had a lot of traffic. So I was able to put the marketing on the website to get people to come
Yep.
sign up, right?
Okay.
But I have also had clients that have had no list.
Yep.
It's harder, of course.
Of course.
And one of the things that I think is often missed, and I don't know whether you have the opportunity with this particular group that you're working with or not, but that to work with a team that does have a list,
Right.
create
Yeah.
a campaign that is a partnership kind of a thing, as opposed to
Yeah.
you now. But you also have to have something to offer them, right? You have to give
Right.
something for them to do that.
Yeah. I dig this idea because I do a lot of local business marketing. My split is like, I don't know, 50-50. 50% kind of online stuff and then 50% offline stuff. And the offline stuff is with the local businesses. And it's interesting for me when we talk about these word of mouth campaigns, and trying to get more individuals these really great offers. We go and we talk to them and we say, hey, look, when you went to Chamber of Commerce, or you went to Rotary, or you went to these other local groups, who else has a complementary business to yours, and how can we get you all together? Because then you all benefit from each other's list, and you also benefit from putting together this really cool offer that no one else can do, right? I mean,
Right,
it's
right.
you've carved out this really neat corner of the market, and you can provide really cool stuff. And so even if you're an online marketer, you can go and find software developers, you can find other info marketers, you can find other product developers, or physical goods, and you can still bundle all that stuff together, and you can create this really amazing offer and drive traffic to it with everybody's list, everybody's influence that they have on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, or kind of any of the social media platforms. And we all have our own set of friends that have benefited from the work that we do, and asking them to share it is a really great place to start.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's cool.
One of the things that we want to talk about as an entire show at some point is local markets. And one of the things that I think, and I don't know whether you're doing it, is to build a list, right? Not
Yep.
only do you build the list for your particular client that you're working with, but one of the things I always did was say, hey, by the way, is it okay if I keep that list? So that, especially in a local market, you've got this
Yeah.
golden opportunity to be able to go to other clients and say, look, I've built a list of 10,000 people that live locally
Yeah, right.
for an extra couple of $100 or whatever. You want to
Right.
start with that list, and
Right.
so therefore you're making some money while you go.
Yeah, and when I talk to people about how to set up their campaigns, I start with here's how we're going to sort of goose this campaign to move in the right direction, right? If you already have a list and you have partnerships and other things, let's start there. If you don't, you might consider buying a few ads in the very beginning to just get it started and then see how it performs. But the reality is, once it starts to go, man, all of a sudden the price per lead comes way down and everyone gets really excited because they're getting these leads for almost free. It's
Right.
the shock and awe of that for a client is really fun to watch when they say, "Hey, look, we've been paying 2.5 or $3 per lead." And all of a sudden, they're starting to see the cost per lead come down, and then pretty soon you just turn off all the advertising and all these leads keep coming in. You think, this is great. How did this work? Um, we have an interesting comment in the chat. I don't know whether or not
You get
you
to see the
you
chat?
saw that. Yeah, I can see the chat. So
Well,
I just
great.
brought it up. And so Deborah asks that
Hi,
this is
Deborah.
very interesting. Very interesting in getting nonprofits to spend $10 a month, let alone $10,000 a month. Here's what I can tell you. Here's a little secret I'll sort of drop right here as we're all together. Um, Deborah, Google actually provides a grant program for some nonprofits, and they give ad spend away as part of their grant.
Hmm.
So if you have folks that are involved in a nonprofit and it fits the grants that Google are giving away, that's where to start. And they give it to you. If you spend it during the month, you have it. You can spend it. If you don't spend it, they don't. It just doesn't add up, right? So if they limit you to $10,000 a month and you only spent six, then you left $4,000 on the table. But there you go. So Deborah, that is what we've been doing and what we are currently doing. So right now the grant is $10,000 a month, and we're setting up the campaign now. And I'll let everybody know how it goes. But we will be generating oodles and oodles and oodles of leads. It's for a nonprofit that is focused on environmental health of the ecosystem. And rather than name drop here, that's the kind of work that I associated with because of my profession,
Yeah.
and it's some of the stuff that I do. So anyway, traffic can be very expensive, but these ad campaigns or these ad platforms, they don't want you to know about this viral bit
Right.
because it's taking money off of the table
Sure.
for a much more targeted audience than they can provide generally. It takes a lot of data. It takes a lot of information. It takes a lot of sort of finesse to get these campaigns when you're paying for them to actually do what they're supposed to do. You throw a lot of money away in the very beginning trying to figure out how the offer is structured, what the words are in the ad itself, and kind of what the offer is and how to carve out the audience the right way. With a viral campaign, all you're doing is offering it up to other people who might know somebody else who would benefit from it, and they're sort of doing the segmentation of your audience for you
Right.
automatically, right? You don't have
Right.
to do it yourself.
How hard
So
is it to pick an offer in a nonprofit kind of a, and again, maybe that has too specific for your particular
No,
community. But I mean,
no, this is
that's the key, right? Is having the right offer.
yeah. So for us, we have spent the better part of the last 2 months working on the avatar to make sure that we understand where the folks that generate revenue for the nonprofit. So let's sort of dispel some of the challenges of a nonprofit. Nonprofit doesn't mean that you're losing money. Nonprofit means that you're making money. The money just happens to stay inside the nonprofit, can't be distributed out to the partnerships or the owner. There's no owner of the nonprofit. It's for public benefit, and that money can be redistributed to other nonprofits. But it better be profitable, because if it's not profitable, you're going to burn everybody up, and it doesn't
Right.
work. So
Right.
what we do is we look at the folks that are generating revenue for the organization, which happens to be training, and then we look at their profile. We're trying to figure out who they are now, who they really want to be later on in the future. We talk to them about who their enemies are, and in the process of trying to get to where they belong in the future, what things they need to overcome. And in that sort of question, we go back and we look at, what do they want to overcome? Well, those bits that they want to overcome have become lead generation offers. So we give them a piece of the solution to get to the end game for free, and they exchange it, for their email address, and then we go back and we sell them the full training program after that. So not much different than a
Yeah.
for-profit company. It's
Right.
just that the avatar is the most important, and we've been working on that. And now that we have that, we have an offer, and at least the first offer. We're going to have multiple offers because we're not sure whether or not this one will work, and then we'll test it and see where we are. But the luxury that we have is we have some ad spend to be able to do the testing.
Great. Go back and watch episode number 7 if you want to see our conversation about testing. How's that? How did I do with that segue? Was that good?
That was fantastic. I have no idea how you did that. But do you have a list of the episodes sitting there, or is this from memory? Because if it's from memory, all hail, man, all hail.
This is my pleasure. No, actually, this morning I was going through the list because we were going to talk about what we were going to talk about. And on the page, by the way, if you go to hearmitch.com, you can see all the previous episodes if you're wanting to watch the videos. Episode number 7 says testing the Mitch and Bradley podcast, because that's the title I put on there. And I'm like, why would I put a title about testing the podcast? And I realized that what I really wanted was testing
Yep.
dash the time. So that's why I remember that particular one.
It's all good. It's all good.
Hold on one second. In terms of what you were talking about before with the Google,
Yeah.
is that out? Yes, thank you. Outside, can you do that outside the U.S., or is that a U.S. only thing, or does it matter?
I don't know.
Because I know Deborah's over in the U.K.
Yeah, you know what? I can't imagine that Google would restrict their grant program to just the United States, but I could be totally wrong. And Deborah, even if Google is only in the United States, there are so many other ad platforms
Right.
that are out there that I suspect that there's other grant funds for advertising, right? I mean, the whole idea is that it's a public benefit. So how do we get other folks who are like-minded to want to spend money to know more about what the public benefit is? So that part, I think there's some hope there for sure.
So for some of us, I don't know if you had a direction you wanted to go there, but for some of us who really aren't that familiar with, and now, see, I hate it when sometimes when the comments come in, because I was like, Deborah just posted something and I started to read it and I went, wait a minute.
Don't read Deborah's comment until you're done with your thought. Finish your thought.
Well, for those of us who don't necessarily have a whole lot of advertising experience, what kind of ad platforms are you talking about? Are you talking about these things called solo ads, which I don't really
Ah,
totally understand, or are you talking about just Google or just Facebook, or give us a little bit more background on that.
so I've run solo ads, I've run pay-per-click ads through Google, I've run pay-per-click ads through Bing, I've run pay-per-click ads through Facebook. We're currently working on our first LinkedIn advertising campaign for a client. Um, and so all of them I think have merit. There are banner sharing opportunities, right, where you have you can share a banner on somebody else's website who has a similar audience with yours. You're just paying for space. When you advertise on Google or Facebook or others, they oftentimes have what they call a sort of an affiliate network, an associated network, so that your advertisement is being shown or can be shown outside of the specific platform without as much targeting available, which
Right,
is really
right.
interesting. And when we talk about targeting, maybe this is one of the other things I wanted to sort of pinpoint here is advertising spending could go from just a few cents per lead all the way to 10, 12, $15 per lead, depending on the market and the offer that you have. It's really, really important, very much like we talked about before, uh, the avatar that you're seeking, you can target inside these platforms, but you have to know who it is you're advertising to, and it's not everyone. And the more you dilute your ad to a bigger, wider audience, the less you get for it, but you're still spending the same amount, right? So, being very targeted in a very small category of individuals first, test your offer, and then start to expand it as you need to continue to get traffic. But yeah, that's been my experience. I can also tell you solo ads. Solo ads are more hit than miss, or I mean more miss than hit. And we find a lot of bots that are running traffic that are so-called real people through solo ads. And a solo ad, here's what a solo ad is. Solo ad is where somebody who has a list and a very active newsletter or something similar that has an audience that's similar to your audience. You provide them a headline and one or two more lines of subtext about what the offer is and a link, and then they can go from that newsletter or a specific
Hmm. Okay.
dedicated email to that list, and then you end up with you end up with traffic coming to your site. But that traffic, it's not great. And what I find is if there's something in it for the person who's doing the solo ad, like what you and I are talking about with the viral campaigns, if they can win a prize for referring the winner, then the quality of leads goes way up, and the quality of clicks goes way up. So just to give somebody a few bucks to run an ad, there's
Yeah.
nothing in it for them.
Right.
So
Right.
that's
Right.
that's the difference.
Great. Thank you. Deborah's got
Yeah.
there comes the kitty cat.
Yep, here comes the
Gee.
cat. Carlisle's gonna join the show in a minute.
Nice. Deborah, I guess I was confused, so I apologize. Deborah says, no, I'm a Brit transplant located
Oh,
in southeastern Virginia. Eastern.
welcome to the US.
See, I thought it was mighty nice of you to be sending those cookies all the way from the United Kingdom. So, all right, now I get it. So, for an NP, nonprofit that serves genetic disorders that cause tumors to form on nerve tissue, I was thinking it would be difficult to think of an offer. See, this goes back to the target
Yep.
audience. But now I'm thinking to get companies to donate. And then there's a second part to that, just to be clear. So, specific nonprofit would our target related to other groups like cancer and health. This is
Yeah,
also.
so
Go ahead. I'm going to say something at the end.
I was gonna say, if you look at the nonprofit and you look at the revenue stream for the nonprofit, whether it's through donations or people are purchasing certain something, that's what I would be looking at. That would be your target customer. for the nonprofit, not the person that you're serving, right? Because they're not generating any revenue for you, but you want to make sure that your avatar is focused on the people who are generating revenue for the organization, and then figure out what it is that they want out of their donation. Sometimes what they're after is notoriety, and you can provide notoriety as a benefit for exchanging an email address or something else, right? They can be named, the February um, advocate of 2022, and that, all of a sudden, that's cool for them. That's what they want. It just depends on what your market is, and spend some time on the avatar, figure it out.
And that's the really hard part. I had somebody that was in my mastermind for a while who
Mhm,
was trying to raise money, and uh, he was building schools in Africa for certain
mhm,
community. And what he wanted to do was to run a contest, and his prize, and we had a long discussion about that. He was just going to give away Home Depot because it was a similar niche, right? Home Depot gift card.
yeah,
Well, that doesn't mean you're going to find the right audience
right,
for your offer. But the other
right,
thing that I wanted to mention before is that we also have to consider the embarrassment aspect. And I'm not necessarily saying that somebody that's in, for I'll just use cancer for example. There's a
mhm,
large chunk of those people that are your perfect avatar that maybe don't want to word of mouth to other people that they have this specific illness or that they know somebody, right? So you have to be very careful with the awareness slash embarrassment side of whatever offer you're doing, because if people aren't willing to share it, then you're
right.
going to go nowhere with your word of mouth campaign.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the reasons I was suggesting that we don't target the people who benefit from the
Right,
organization. We generally target the people who are supporting the organization, whether they be volunteers or they be those folks writing checks or providing services into the organization, right? So, kind of what Deborah was saying here is maybe one of her avatars is a service provider, which would provide or help in the provision of treatment solutions. Absolutely, that can be one of them. You could target, volunteers for the organization. So now you have a list of individuals who, whether they're remote or not, can pitch in when you
right,
have your next campaign.
right.
Um, it can be lots of things, but I appreciate where you're coming from. Is most people who are benefiting from a nonprofit, I'm thinking, domestic violence. I'm thinking cancer. I'm thinking other disabilities where, no, they don't wanna be out in the public. They want to privately get the services that they need that support them, and that's amazing. So we don't wanna target them. We wanna target the people who are supporting that kind of help.
That is,
So,
and that's a fantastic point. Like I said before, the gentleman that was in my mastermind was so struggling because he was just looking for money, right? He
yeah.
was, you know, so I really appreciate that. That's a fantastic point to go after the people that are providing support. I think that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and they're gonna get something out of it, right? I mean, they're
Right,
providing support because their heart's in the right place. That's
right,
they connect with you emotionally, and if you can continue to foster that in their confidence to continue to provide, then man, you've sort of hit the market where you need to. So
right.
yeah, absolutely. And sort of a shameless plug here in the masterclass I'm doing on viral campaigns. We're going to be spending an entire session on doing nothing but avatar development so that
Nice.
everyone has an opportunity to jump in and sort of start from scratch and figure out what their avatar is and get help along the way. They don't have to do it by themselves. So,
Deborah says, "OMG, what a new perspective." See? Isn't it great? It is. So we're providing this service, and I see you fighting with your cat. Uh,
yeah, no, yeah. He's over here trying to push the keys on the keyboard and a bunch of other
Nice.
stuff. But
I'm
anyway,
thinking clinical trial companies, Deborah says, would love to support this way.
yeah,
So I love to see the mind blown happening going
yeah.
on.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. I appreciate the feedback, and if you all have other questions or concerns while we're talking about this stuff, that's the whole point of the show, right? Is for us to be able to chat in real time about things that we're doing and challenges we've come across, and maybe things that we've solved, and in hopes that you guys can solve it too. And I don't know, what is Deborah in one of your masterminds? And if she's
Not
not, maybe she needs
yet.
to jump in one. Maybe she needs to jump into one, or grab my master class, one of the two. But there are ways.
Both.
There are ways for all of us, yeah, or both of it, yeah. There's ways for us to help you out for sure.
I'm
Yeah.
laughing so much because Deborah and I have talked about it several times, and she's been to the point where she might be getting into the mastermind in the near future, but we'll see. It should be both, she says. Exactly. Because, I mean, there's great minds going on here between the two of us, right?
Well, hey, don't break your arm, pat yourself on the back. We've just
Um,
look. We've sort of lived life, right, in this market. Right?
uh-huh.
I know I'm no smarter than the people who I work with. I just happen to have seen a lot more than they
Yep.
have, and learned some lessons along the way. So
Well, look at
that's
that.
good stuff.
AJ's here. AJ's here.
Hey, AJ.
AJ's also in my mastermind, so
Hey, that's
slight
great.
plug.
Welcome aboard.
Bradley, I do have to do the raise my hand because we're already at 30 minutes.
Well, then let's wrap this thing up, and then so for those of you who are on right now, you sort of get a 2-for-1 if you're interested. We've been trying to put multiple episodes of a podcast together the same day, so we'll end up going live again in another session. It will be about something completely different. But if you want to hang out, feel free to hang out, and then if you can't, you can't. But there'll be replays available, and we'll figure it out.
Yes, sir. I think we just barely scratched the surface on that one.
Yeah, I think so too. I wonder. So, for those of you who are on, what's the best way for you to get a hold of Mitch? Mitch, how can they get a hold of you?
Hey, watch this. I
Oh,
have
he
a
has
new
the fancy
website.
graphics on him. Look at him. He has the fancy graphics on his ad. That means that you have to pause. You have to stop your car, pull off on the side of the road if you're doing this on the road, or whatever, in order to get a hold of me. It's different, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
dig that you contactmitch.com. That way to go. That's awesome.
It's simple.
And
Anybody can remember it, I think.
yeah, that's awesome.
There's
And
also by the way, the new QR code there. So if you're watching the live stream or the recording, you can just use your phone to get straight there.
wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Look at you, QR codes,
Modern tech.
fancy overlays. There's this shiny box I'm in. That's amazing. I dig it. And look, if you guys need to get a hold of me, Bradley at waldropcommunications.com. That's Bradley at waldropcommunications.com. I'm working on a landing page, but look, email and phones are easier for me anyway. 916-314-0413, 916-314-0413. And call me and we'll do what we can to help you out.
I can create a slide for you.
I'm sure you can. If I give you the information, then you can create a slide. That would be awesome. That would be amazing.
Wouldn't
it? Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody. For those of you who are watching live, we're gonna take a quick 2 or 3 minute, 4 minute break, and then we'll be right back with the next episode.
Yep. Take care, you guys.